I'm going to ask a question you don't have to answer out loud. If you're comfortable answering it, and let everybody hear the question and hear the answer, that's fine. But I'd like to ask you, how many of you have been violated by a friend or a boyfriend or a husband or an uncle or a father? Just don't answer. Not everybody wants to answer that question. But the statistics are that most of you haven't. Now that is not trafficking, but it is surely the beginning of it. And it's all on the same continuum of violence against women. And I'll tell you a story. I did a few radio interviews leading up to this, and Erica is really way too good because I was being interviewed a whole lot this week. So there was a story on one of the radio stations a couple of days ago. And yesterday evening I was walking in a community that's not mine in downtown Decatur, waiting for my grandson, and I guess I walked a couple of blocks and I noticed there was a woman standing close to me. And I turned around and she said, well, I just thought it was you. I saw you from the back and I just wanted to tell you that I heard the interview today. I said, really? She said, yes, I heard the interview. And for the first time I confronted the fact that I had been violated. The woman was 45 years old, was successful. She didn't tell me what the violation was, but she said, I'm going to do something for other people who have been in this situation. So what we're asking you to do is, when you have internalized it, as I had done in my own situation, internalize kind of a violation. I didn't tell anybody about it. Frankly, I didn't tell my mother about it. She was living here at 82 years old and heard me talking about it on television. I was in my 60s. And she said, well, why didn't you tell anyone? I said, well, I thought it was my fault. I was embarrassed. I had buried it in my heart. But if you ask me to describe that circumstance today, I can tell you exactly how I felt as a 9-year-old. Exactly how I felt. And I'm 67, that's a long time. So I urge you to use your own experiences to engage other people. It's not just someone else's problem. Use your own experiences, the things that you've seen and heard, and those of you in the medical field, and those that you know. Please use your own experiences. Here we are. Will improve zoning law enforcement be helpful? The proximity of strip clubs and sex stores to grocers and other shopping areas seems to expose potential victims to men who are in the business.
Yes and no. Certainly, isolating, my preference would be eliminating strip clubs, etc., would make a difference. But remember, the majority of trafficking is taking place on the internet. These young girls are being ordered online like you would order pizza, and they're being told where to deliver them to. So zoning has nothing to do with this. It's happening in neighborhoods and hotels all throughout the city and the country.
Here's another thing. What do you do if you suspect a child is becoming involved by way of the internet? And the involvement is suggested as a model. The child is being encouraged to model by the internet. What do you do about it?
I'll start and then Ms. Williams will follow up. If you suspect that there's a person who is in fact a victim of trafficking, or you just think that the behavior seems to indicate that this person may be a victim of human trafficking, you can call your local law enforcement or call the FBI. Law enforcement is used to getting kids that may not bear any fruit. But 1 out of 10 times, or 2 out of 10 times, there will be something there. And because this is such a national priority, especially here in Atlanta with these specialized teams I discussed earlier, leads like that, more than likely, will probably end up helping us find a young girl that needs to be situation. So don't hesitate to call, I don't know if it would necessarily be 911, but maybe they would probably refer you to the non-emergency number. Or you could just call the FBI and they will follow up on those leads. It's better to report and be wrong than to do nothing and then a person's trafficking experience continues on.
I agree totally, 911. I get calls at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're calling me before they call law enforcement. That's wrong. Because I can't get there quicker and I'm not caring. I want to. I think that sometimes girls are hidden in plain sight. And I think we have to sometimes look for it, even if someone doesn't come and tell us about it. You know, you may see a 12-year-old girl who was coming to school on time. And she was showing up every day doing her work, and now she's not. That's just one time. You may see that now she's wearing very tight, revealing clothing, or she's gone in the opposite direction, and she's wearing very baggy clothing. She's wanting to hide herself. She may be carrying a lot of money, but she's not spending any of it. She may be hanging around older adult women or older adult men. And it can be family members as well. You have to start asking the question, why these adults are around this child all the time? Why isn't she allowed to speak on her own without them interrupting or directing her conversation? You have to look at that cell phone that she's being attached to. Every time it rings, she moves a certain way. These are signs that you need to be aware of because these are things that generally folks are indicating that she's being controlled. You can give a tip anonymously at 404-577-TIPS. I'm going to give you that number again, and I hope you take it down. Anonymously, you can leave a tip if you suspect trafficking is going on, and even if you're not sure, but something in your gut is telling you something's wrong with the situation. 404-577-TIPS. I'll give you one quick story. I had a young lady call me. She was in Walmart, and she says, Miss Lisa, I don't know what to do. I'm here in Walmart, and there's a girl, she looks like she's 11 to 12, like my daughter's age, and she's with a man. He's got to be about 30 or 40 years old. They're in the lingerie section, and she looks uncomfortable. And I said, you're calling me for what reason? Why haven't you dialed 911? So you don't have to worry about proving it. That's over on this side. But we must report it. If it's out of place, it's giving you reason for pause, dial 911. We have gotten girls because someone has dialed 911 out of Atlanta Airport. It was that 2 o'clock call, the first one I received, and it was on a young lady that was being trafficked from Ohio to Atlanta, Georgia. And we had just done a training just 2 weeks prior, and one of the trainees called me and says, Miss Williams, there's a girl, something's wrong. I know something's wrong. I see all the signs that you spoke about. I dialed 911 and I called the airport police, and we were able to rescue that child because they were attentive, they had learned the signs.
Give us the signs. I know you can't train us to that. But give us some signs. What should we look for?
I actually brought a phenomenal pamphlet from the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, and just like you said, this is an international epidemic, and so the UNODC has been publishing materials, training materials, or doing a lot of training sessions on this matter. And as you can see, this is a full double-sided sheet of paper, because some of the indicators are obvious and some are not so obvious. And we've talked also about a lot of sex trafficking, but there's also a different type of human trafficking as well, known as forced labor. And you might think about that, it is what it says it is. Individuals are being brought over from different countries here to work in situations where they're basically being abused, or there are situations where we have victims of domestic forced labor. But Ms. Williams just gave some great examples. I'll just quickly read a couple of these. Some general indicators are that the victims may believe that they must work against their will, that they are unable to leave their work environments, they show fear or anxiety, they suffer injuries okay, that appear to be as a result of assault. And you know these things, the covered up bruise on the eye, right? The burn marks, things of that nature. The scantily clad form of dress, they're out of place. They're in places where, you know, a 14-year-old shouldn't be. Tattoos is a no. Traffickers like to brand their property. So if you see the word J. Illa on a 14-year-old girl's neck, that's not quite right. But there are a lot of indicators. I'm going to leave this sheet here. I have a lot of copies. And this shows indicators not only the sex trafficking for children, but for adult women, and also in the forced labor category as well.
Thank you. Answer. Why anyway? It's a worldwide problem. It happens everywhere. Atlanta is a very busy commerce center. And just as good things happen as a result of commerce, whether it's the airport, the trains, the roads, the buses, and also bad things. And for a long, long time, really from the beginning of Atlanta, this has been a place of exchange of goods and services. And none of us know how long there's been human trafficking coming through Atlanta, but certainly what we're seeing today is that Atlanta is one of the top 14 cities in the United States, and that's a generous ranking. When I was in office and briefed by the Immigration Department and the U.S. Attorney and others, they told me Atlanta was the #1 city in the United States. You might not like that. And part of it has to do with the ease in which you can come and go in Atlanta. And also, because Atlanta is very large and disjointed in many ways, there are a lot of different jurisdictions, there are a lot of different organizations, people get hidden more easily. So those are a couple of reasons why Atlanta. Another question, and this is not appropriate, at least to say so. Someone has asked for the names of the colleges so that they might support them financially. No, I had to ask a question about money, right?
So glad. It's important. Atlanta Metropolitan State College, Atlanta Tech College, Southern Crescent College, Macon State College, Middle Georgia State College, and I do believe we're working on collaborative agreements now with Clayton State, and Spelman will be doing some work with us in terms of mentoring programs, research, and evaluation. We are very excited about those partnerships, and if you would do some donations to them or to us directly, it would be much appreciated.
Thank you. We are running out of time, but certainly this subject is one that we want to be sure that you are connected with. And each of our sisters who have spoken about this have talked about various ways that you can be involved. One of the most important ways to be involved is to talk about it. To talk about it, to raise the question in your ministries, to raise the question in your work, to raise the question in your home, to be sure your own children and their children and grandchildren are sufficiently educated on the topic so that they don't fall prey, nor are they those who are preying on others. So those are some of the things that you can do. Now, at each table, there is, under one of the sauces, I think it's the salsa, right? There is a small dot. And if you raise your hand, if you found it, would you stand up if you have the dot? Thank you. First 25 people are going to get the kit. So we'd be glad. All these who are standing, we'd be glad. We're very, very excited that you'll have this kit yourself. Wait a minute. You know, you can't go down here and from our president. Those of you who are standing, if you will step over to the table in the front, we want to give you a kit that you can share.
You're wearing too much.
the podium our distinguished president of the Buckhead Cascade Links chapter, Dr. Renette Flowers. Please join me in welcoming